welcome back to the Talk of Fame podcast. I'm Kylie Montigny, and on today's special episode, I'm so excited to welcome Andrea Whitt. Andrea is an amazingly versatile and unique talent. One day, she may be playing viola on a recording session with Kendrick Lamar's album. Later in the night, she'd be playing pedal steel guitar live in a country rock band. Such is the diversity of musically that she can display at will. No wonder she is demanded from artists such as Shania Twain, which is one of my personal favorite artists,
Mhm.
to Struggle Jennings, to Moby, Zucchero and Slash. World-class violin and viola player in both classical and fiddle styles, she also happens to be one of a small number of female pedal steel guitarists in the world. During a recent performance as a guest artist with Blues Traveler, John Popper announced live on stage that Andrea Whitt, she's fucking awesome, which I don't blame him. But earlier this year, guitar legend Robby Krieger joined Andrea on stage as a special guest for her first solo show. She's a musician's musician. Beyond music, Andrea also happens to be a respected and accomplished visual artist, stylist, and fashion designer in a demand from all over the world, besides, United States, which is crazy. But in this creativity and balanced talent is basically an example of what she does. So welcome to the show, Andrea. We're very excited to have you on.
Kylie, thank you.
So, what got you involved in music? Like, you are literally doing everything all over the place, but what kind of got you involved, especially doing fiddle and steel guitar?
So I started playing viola when I was 9, and I was classically trained. And I went to a conservatory, got my master's degree in music, and then I always wanted to live in Los Angeles, and thinking I was going to go into mostly studio music recording for films and television. But I really just started playing live a lot. Um, and I started playing in rock bands. I got called to audition for Shania Twain. And that was, I think I started playing with her maybe like 12 years ago. So that was kind of like the first big, gig per se that I got in LA. And from there, I was hired as a violist and a fiddle player. So that was actually my first time playing fiddle was with Shania Twain, which is kind of
Oh,
crazy.
really?
I came from a classical and a jazz background, and then I was thrown into this gig, and it's like, okay, let's go, let's get some fiddle styles together.
Mm.
So I did that, and then while I was with Shania Twain, I picked up pedal steel guitar as well. So we had a steel guitar in the band, and I kept watching him play during rehearsals, and I was just so intrigued that I ordered a pedal steel online. I had it sent to my hotel room where we were rehearsing for Shania's shows, and I just went for it. So since then, the majority of my career now has been pretty equally split between fiddle and pedal steel. And I
Mm.
still do play viola, but those two instruments are my main things that I do.
Like, so do you still play with Shania Twain, or was it kind of like in the past, like this did it as like a like part-time type of thing?
Totally. So I was in her band for maybe like 2.5 years. We did the first Vegas residency
Mm.
when she was on like a 10-year hiatus. So she came back and I was involved in that project. But yeah, as a freelance musician, we kind of bop around to different artists sometimes. And,
Mhm.
after Shania Twain, I went on a big world tour with Zucchero where I performed in 52 countries in 3 years. So
Oh,
it's fun. Now I play with Struggle Jennings, who's Waylon's grandson, and so it's a lot of country music. And then, um, like you mentioned, the upcoming tour with Moby. So, um, we kind of move around, and I love playing with different artists and collaborating with different people.
that sounds so much fun. Like you travel all around the world to play music. Like nothing's better than that though. Like
Totally, it's like a
visiting
big
and like
paid
that's
vacation.
like every person's or especially travel person's dream, honestly.
Totally.
But to go back to Shania Twain, like as someone who is literally loves Shania Twain, I saw her in
Nice.
concert last year at Madison Square Garden, and she
Uh-huh.
is really amazing. Like she's a brilliant performer. But what was she like for you? Like what was she kind of like the type of person for you behind the scenes and everything?
Oh, she was so fun, just so inviting. She'd invite us out to dinner all the time, and we'd have band hangs and like activities planned for the band because we were living in Vegas. We had like 4 shows a week. We had to be at sound check at what 4 p.m. and then back at the hotel by 10. So that was all we had to do all week while we're living in Vegas. So, on our days off, we do activities and I got to play tennis with her a couple times. We did some doubles matches. But yeah, she's just such a warm and welcoming person. So
I
yeah.
love that. Like that's good. You had such a good experience because like I never met her personally, but like
Mhm.
from what I see on social media and everything, like she's literally seems like she's like a down to earth person, like to everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah. And her sister Carrie was on the tour, and Carrie is such a blast too. So
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah, it runs in the family. They're all so sweet.
Oh gosh. Like was her sons there too, or they weren't there?
Her son came out for a couple shows. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. Awesome.
I
So
think. Yeah.
to go back to your like going on tour with Moby, so you're going on a European tour with him. So what are you kind of most looking forward to about this tour and how are you preparing for the international performance? Because of course with the European tour, you're
Mhm.
halfway across the world, you're traveling, like it's a big adjustment.
It is. There's a lot of things to think about with, European travel. But the thing I'm most looking forward to with Moby is, playing in these big arenas. I love these big shows in Europe. And honestly, like touring Europe is so fun. You get to wake up in a new country every day. So
Mhm.
you play your show, you get on the tour bus after the show, you drive overnight, and then, so like, let's say we play a show in Paris, maybe the next morning we're in Dusseldorf.
Mhm.
So it's such a variety. You get to wake up and like go find a little local coffee shop, go find some lunch. I'm vegan, so and the vegan options are amazing over in Europe. So it's
Mhm.
fun to go explore. Um, and most of the time, all the venues in Europe are pretty centralized, like in the center of the cities. And that's kind of unlike the US. Like if you play a big amphitheater in the US, you're sometimes out in the middle of nowhere. And so your day is kind of like, okay, I'm going to hang out at this amphitheater. But in Europe, everything's so close together that you
Yeah,
can just
if
walk
not
outside,
this
take a
like
train
on
somewhere.
top of it mostly.
Exactly. Yes.
Like
Yeah. And
with
so
the US,
preparing
like
for
there's
it,
not as much option, like vegan options, especially around like an arena that I seen. It's like it's much more in Europe, like in terms of vegan
totally.
options. He's my brother's girlfriend is vegan,
Oh,
so
nice.
it can be very hard to find depending on where you are in the United States.
Yes, yeah, you're so right. Definitely. There's certain states it's much, much harder.
I know.
Um, but yeah, preparing for the tour. This time I am really striving to pack extremely light. Like
Oh yeah.
I, I do a fairly good job at packing, but I'm gonna narrow it down to stage clothes and regular clothes. Everything fits in one suitcase.
Yeah,
That's
like
the
I'm
goal.
the type of
50
person that
pounds.
overpacks and might, especially if it's like an European like that might end up packing like maybe multiple suitcases.
I know it's hard, but then you're over there and you just want to buy items because it's stuff that you don't have here. So I'm like, okay, you're gonna buy some outfits while you're there. So just relax, pack 3 changes of clothes, and then go shopping. So
Oh yeah. You mean it's a win-win deal though. Might as well just bring something so you can wash and like in a washer or something they can wear every
yes.
day, then just wear whatever you want that you decide to buy in Europe. Like,
Oh
but
yeah.
how long is the European like?
Is the flight or the tour?
Oh, the tour.
Oh, the tour, it's just 2 weeks. It's a quick little run that we're over there.
Oh, that's not
So
bad at all.
yeah, yeah. So I think one suitcase is doable.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it could be worse. You could be gone for a month and
Totally.
be gone for much longer than two
Yeah.
weeks. Like it's not
Yeah.
bad. So to talk about your new single that's coming out on August 29th. So you're coming out with a new single called Sleepwalk. What
Uh-huh.
drew you to kind of writing it?
Actually, Sleepwalk is a cover by Santo and Johnny, and it's a beautiful, iconic cover. And the melody is just, it's timeless. And while most people may not have heard the name Sleepwalk, once they hear it, they're like, oh, that song. So yeah, I've gotten a lot of requests playing pedal steel to play Sleepwalk, and it's just kind of one of those things that you should have in your back pocket to perform. Um, and I was like, well, if I'm going to learn to play it, if I'm going to make it my own. And then I was like, well, if I'm going to do that and put all this effort into maybe making a recording of it, like let's go all out and do a music video. So that's kind of how that came about.
So how long was the exact process? Because like when you are doing a cover of someone's song, like it's probably much quicker than me doing your own song and writing and everything like that.
Yeah, definitely. It is quicker. Yeah, if it's a cover, then you're thinking more of like the arrangement and like how to make it your own, instead of going through the writing process. I mean, sometimes the writing process is quick and sometimes, it takes a while. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, covers typically don't take as much time to kind of put out there.
Yeah. Like how did you find this song?
I think it just kind of creeps into your life. Like it's just I've heard it played in so many different locations and, whether it's on TV or, just someone else is playing it live or you've just heard it come on the radio in certain places. So it's just one of those songs that's just kind of always there. I'm not sure when I first heard it. I mean, I probably was pretty young. I probably
Mm,
heard it and didn't even know what instrument was played on. So,
I know, yeah. Because I don't know why the name doesn't sound familiar to me, but if I
uh-huh.
hear it, like this song, I might be like, okay, this is what
You'll
the
definitely
song
know.
is. Because like I'm
Yep.
the type of person that might recognize the song, but not the name or the artist. So it's like whenever maybe I hear something like a beat or a lyric, I'm like, okay, I heard
Yeah,
this song
totally.
before, but this don't know the song or the artist who is playing it.
Yeah.
It can be a variety of different reasons. But you mentioned in a quote that you feel empowered when performing Sleepwalk. Like, how do you think music, especially iconic melodies, can create a sense of nostalgia and connection across different generations? Because this is like a kind of like older like type of song, so it's like it can really impact different generations.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it has like a really nostalgic vibe to it. So um, since it was written and performed in the 50s, it has that kind of classic vibe to it. But a good melody is a good melody.
Hmm.
And anyone there's pop songs that have great melodies, like Don't Stop Believing, like there's so many songs that you can name, and it's like they span all generations because they're just melodies that kind of stick with us and they're like in our lives. The open Sweet Child of Mine, like the opening guitar riff, like that's
Hmm.
it's so iconic. Those things just kind of good melodies are good melodies. So
Yeah, like
yeah.
I feel like a bunch of not only journeys, but a bunch of like maybe 80s or 90s songs. I
Mhm.
probably have more melody or maybe kind of had like a better, I don't know what it's like, maybe like a beat or a tune than maybe now in our generation, 2024. Because
Mhm.
with 90s and 80s and 90s, that was one of the best generations of music. And so with
Mhm.
that, it's literally different melodies and everything are so different now with the different generation and different types of music we're
Mhm.
interested in than maybe when you're growing up or our parents were growing up. It's so much different.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of music I hear now that doesn't, maybe doesn't rely, or they don't have such catchy melodies as like songs in the past have. There's just different styles out there, but yeah.
So to go into your style, so how would you describe your kind of signature style, both musically and artistically, and what do you hope it communicates with your audience? Because with artists, they often shift from maybe one style to another, but what kind of is kind of yours?
So I draw from a lot of different styles musically because I was classically trained to begin with. And then I
Mhm.
started studying jazz in college. And then I started playing rock music and got into fiddle styles. And when I learned pedal steel, I've always, been a fan of the Grateful Dead, but really kind of dug into that catalog while learning pedal steel. So I feel like I pull from a lot of different genres. So, if I'm walking on a gig where someone asks me to play fiddle for the evening, since I'm not like a fiddle player from the beginning, I've morphed into a fiddle player. While I am playing fiddle styles, I'm bringing like a lot of different aspects. Like I'm bringing like maybe some jazz licks, some blues licks, just some rock stuff that I put into my improvising. So it's just kind of like a melting pot of styles.
Oh yeah, for sure. So to end off this episode, like what's next for you and your music?
So next for me touring wise, like you mentioned, Moby is the next tour I'm going on. That's in September. And then I'm going out with Struggle Jennings, who I've been playing with for almost 2 years now. And we're doing a US tour. And then after that, when I get home, I am actually, before I leave for Moby, even, I'm getting into the studio and I'm writing some music. So next year I'm going to be putting out my first album, and Sleepwalk will be on that album. So this is, the first single on the album. But yeah, I'm gonna have a bunch of, different writing partners and lots of collaborators, musicians that I've worked with over the years. So that's what's next musically.
Awesome. That sounds so exciting. And I can't wait for all those projects or even touring to come out. It's gonna be definitely
Yeah,
going to keep you busy for the rest of the year.
definitely.
I'm sure it'll be such a fun time. I can't wait for all the content, which I'm sure there'll be ton. But
Yes,
thank
yes.
you everyone for listening. I'm so excited to have Andrea on today. She's literally awesome. And I really appreciate everyone for listening. And thank you, Andrea, for coming on, taking the time to chat with us. It was so great chatting
Thank you,
with you.
Kylie. You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So thank you everyone again for listening. Make sure to like, subscribe, and review. And I'll talk to everyone soon. And